Hello and welcome back to the Busby Way Podcast. In what should be another fantastic hour, well, not quite hour, I don't think. We won't go quite long. Fantastic half an hour of talking about some more quality Manchester United football. I'm joined by Chris, as always. Chris, how are you?
The usual.
I feel like we start
Life's
the same every single week.
yeah, life's good. Football, not so.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll start on it on the brighter note from this week in Manchester United football. Erik Ten Hag's finally been appointed.
Hey.
Finally, I mean, it's been announced, which is great. Means we can now start to move forward into hopefully the right direction. I remember when it first was announced, you put in the chat, we've got Chris. Finally, something good to talk about on this podcast, which is true, which is very true. Is it the right appointment?
Yeah, I think obviously, we spoke when it was a case of Ten Hag or Pochettino every other week, really, haven't we? Because it's the only thing we actually wanted to talk about because football's been so dire. But I think it is. I think obviously I'd have taken Ten Hag or Pochettino. I think that I think what most people would. I think obviously going down the Ten Hag route, I think that's probably because Pochettino's time may have just been and gone, and it just was not just a case of it wasn't going to happen because it didn't happen previously. So they're going down the Ten Hag route. I think Ajax and United have similar sort of ethoses historically in terms of that promote the players, attractive football is. And there's expectation. So I think goes hand in hand that there's that link. I think as well, he's clearly well thought of within the coaching community. I know Pep even said that he'd have been a potential successor to himself at City, and I don't think you can get much higher praise than that. He's worked at big clubs in terms of he was at Bayern Munich in the coaching staff there, working with Pep actually.
You're going to say that was under Pep, yeah.
Under Pep. So there's clearly a philosophy that he wants to do. Like I said, the style of play will be pretty apparent when he comes in and actually gets it moving forward. I think the only sort of doubt, and I think it would probably be, is it a big step up in terms of, it's all well and good winning the Dutch league year after year, but it's a different kettle of fish, really, to the Premier League. Obviously, he had good success in Europe in terms of getting to a semi-final. Constantly got into the group stages, got unlucky with a couple of the group draws, to be fair to them. I think there's a lot of positives and a lot of things that I'm liking. I'm already liking the fact that he's gone, I want Steve McLaren as my number 2, and he's pushing to get Steve McLaren because obviously, McLaren was a big part of United's late 90s, early 90s before he went and did good things at Middlesbrough. When he was the assistant to Ferguson at United, he was there when won the treble. He knows the club and he's worked in Holland, so there'll be a bit of a relationship probably struck up between the two. I think they worked together at FC20. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure they did. So that would make a real sense, and that straight away makes me think he clearly knows that he needs somebody he knows and trusts and knows he can work with them, but also knows Manchester United better than he does. Yeah. And I think that's a good indication that he knows what he needs to do. He needs Manchester United people in there at some point. And I think, there's noises about Rennie Mullenstein as well, the Dutch link and the United link. The noises we're getting so far are good. I think even, when he's been speaking in his Ajax press conference saying, I'm focusing on Ajax right now. I think even that's good because it to me shows that he's a focused manager and he knows what to do with his players in terms of, if I'm focused on the team, you're going to be focused on the team. And I think that's he clearly knows what to say as well. So yeah, so far, the noises are good, but time will ultimately tell. It's a massive job. Frankly, if I was him, I'd have looked at last week's performances and gone, maybe not.
You said there about him bringing in potentially someone who knows the club like McLaren, and it seems to be a philosophy a lot of these European coaches have adopted when they come over to the Premier League. Pep did it when he brought in Arteta. It seems to be a method that these European coaches do to help them get used to the club they're at, and it seems to have worked. He's got a decent track record, so I mean, yeah, I all welcome it as long as it's by his decision. Like we've had this conversation before, it can't be other people making the decisions for him. And he has said that was one of the biggest reasons why he agreed to the job in the first place, was because he was assured that he would have, power over who was going to come in and who was going to leave, and decisions and things like that. Do you think he potentially, these talks that it's pretty much confirmed that he's bringing his assistant with him from Ajax? Do you think we could see any potentially players coming in, and who do you think we may see? Maybe leave United this summer?
I think a couple of the players that I've heard linked are Timber, who's a centre half who can play right back. Based on his height, I think he'll be better suited to right back in the Premier League. I think he's only 5'11", so I think that's for centre half in the Premier League. That's probably not great unless he's playing in the back three. And then there's the forward, as we call him these days, Anthony, who looks a talented boy. So I think those two would probably be high up on his list, because I think he'd be able to get them. So in terms of him, that might be options. In terms of who he might be looking to move on, I think it's the ones we've spoken about previously. We know Matic is leaving. Pogba's leaving. Let's be honest. If he's there next season, baffled.
But it surprised me with that post he put out on social media. It didn't make me think that they offered him a contract.
But like that sort of makes you think now. Surely Ten Hag should be making those decisions about who stays in terms of contracts. So we'll see with that. I think I don't think we'll see Cavani next season. I'll be amazed if we see him again this season. And then I think they're the obvious ones. And then I think it's just going to be personal preference as to who he thinks fits his style. Probably Phil Jones will be moved on. Maybe Erik Bailly because of his injury record. But yeah, I think he's got an opportunity now to work with Ralph to sort of draw up a list of, because ultimately Ralph's been able to work with those players and will know strengths and weaknesses and whether they want it. And he can report back to Erik and say, X, Y, and Z, I like, I think they'll suit your style, keep hold of them. ABC, nah. I don't.
I think we could know
attitude.
We could name who ABC are going to be.
Yeah, exactly. I think it don't take. Anybody who's watched United in the last 4 weeks knows who's that's going to be. But I think it will be interesting to see. We probably will never know, for sure. But I would like to think that them two will be in communication, even if it's just one phone conversation every week to say, right, Erik to say, I like that Hannibal. I saw him when he come on against Liverpool. He showed a bit. Can you play him a little bit? Give him some more minutes. I want to see a bit more of him. Matic is leaving, so unless you have to, no point playing him. Sort of thing. Are those conversations going to be happening? Possibly. I'd like to think they are. It should be an opportunity to do so. But yeah, I think he will have an idea now, starting to form in his head of how he wants to play, and he'll be watching all the United games back now, thinking, right, that player he can play my system, that player can't, and then be thinking, right, who can go in that system from elsewhere. So he strikes me as a student of the game as well. So I think, and I think his transfer policies are going to be could be a bit left field as well. I don't think he's going to necessarily go for all the big big names.
I
think
agree.
he's going to have a
I
philosophy.
think that's the best thing to do for United currently in the position we're in.
Yeah, and I think as well, you look at City. Who'd heard of Gabriel Jesus? Really?
Even Aguero, really, when he came in.
Yeah, he was, sort of, unless you followed those leagues in European football, you probably wouldn't have known him straight away. Jesus came from nowhere, and he's been a strong performer for a few seasons for them. They've had that ability of finding good players. You just have to look at what like Leicester did, with their recruitment over the years. Even Liverpool, Jota's come from Wolves, not a big club. Diaz come from Porto, massive club in the country, but not necessarily in the grand scheme of Europe. Matip came from a decent German team, but not a brilliant one.
Was he at Stoke before that, Matip? Did he play for Stoke?
He might have had a loan spell or something there.
Yeah,
I know he was at Schalke when I think it was that he came from. And then Robertson coming from Hull. There'll be plenty more, but Mane from Southampton, Van Dijk from Southampton. They're not they're great players, but they've not come from the biggest clubs. They've not been signing from Real Madrid, from Bayern Munich. So maybe that's they've proven that you go down City to the same. De Bruyne came from Wolfsburg. That you don't need to go and sign players from Real Madrid, Manchester City, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Barcelona to build a great team. You really don't. So I'll be interested to see where it goes.
All the great teams of the past have not bought from teams like that. They've all gone and bought young and up-and-coming players.
Whereas we generally bought the cast-offs.
Yeah.
The ones that, there's a reason Di Maria was allowed to leave. For example. So, I think that's going to be the interesting one. I would like to see him, build a team of younger players, young, hungry players who want to be elite footballers, who not necessarily there just yet, but are on the brink of it because they're not necessarily at the top clubs. Yeah,
I agree. Well, speaking of the big teams then, in the last, sorry, I'm just losing my voice there. In the last week and the next week, we've probably had three of the biggest games you can have in English football, really. We played Liverpool at Anfield. We played Arsenal at the Emirates, and we play Chelsea next week at Old Trafford. We'll group Arsenal and Liverpool together because, to be honest with you, it was both of the same. It was two each of the same stick. Let's be realistic. We got beat by Liverpool. Was it 4-0? 4-0. I forget how many I lost count. 4-0 and beat by Arsenal 3-1. What went wrong, Chris? What went wrong?
In a word, everything. Terrible. I mean, I've run out of words on this podcast to describe how bad we've been previously. And I keep saying, we can't be that bad again. I didn't need to go and do that. I mean, gee whiz. I mean, obviously, I think you can just refer to Gary Neville's podcast, really, in terms of what every United fan thought. Nothing about that performance whatsoever. No heart, no determination. We should have been going there thinking, these fellas are going for everything. They want to win everything. We can, majorly damage them, going for one of them, and keep our treble, status. And there's just absolutely no appetite at all. He was 4-0 down in 5 minutes to an absolutely stupid goal. What is Maguire doing? So high, so easy to play against. 2 passes they're in. And that just started it. I mean, I was also fuming with De Gea for that goal because the lads tapped it in from 4 yards out. Surely he can come for the cross and clear it away. But I mean, it was so poor. Like I've touched on, the only performance of note was Hannibal coming off for 5 minutes, running around, kicking people. But it showed something. He wanted the ball as well. He was actually demanding the ball and making movements. One point I tracked him and he went from one side of the pitch to the other, but nobody passed to him. Yeah, I could sit here for 2 hours just ranting about that one. But luckily, I've already done that on a different podcast. But yeah, I mean, it was woeful, and 4-0 flattered us. Playing in the backyard with his kids, wasn't he? It was incredible, that game. Taught us a lesson. Whole team did. So yeah, I think that was one of them. Awful performance. Probably the worst performance in that fixture by any team ever.
Yeah.
Certainly
Worse
Premier
than
League era.
5-0.
Yeah, I think it was worse than 5-0. I
Yeah.
thought we showed stuff in that 5-0. We were just naive. I think in terms of Arsenal, again, that first goal. You know, if you're conceding 3 minutes in, well, we conceded 3 minutes in and 5 minutes in the last two games, and both goals have been horrendous.
Yeah.
Obviously, Varane misses it. Tellez misses it. Tellez doesn't get close enough to Saka. Dave makes a good save, but Dalot switched off as soon as the ball's gone from right to left. And Tavares, he's terrible as well. And he gets a tap in.
You're getting to our 11, though.
Oh, I mean, it's a tap in. I mean, terrible. And then, yeah, didn't get much better defensively. I'll give him a little bit of credit for 20 minutes after half time, we were good. But Bruno, poor penalty. If you're going to do that run up, you've got to score. Simple as, because you just look a fool otherwise. And yeah, we've. I think if he scores that penalty, we could conceivably go on and win the game. But then to give away the third goal again was sloppiness. We had two chances to clear it and didn't, and Xhaka pings it in. So yeah, I think within the game, obviously there was a couple of decisions. Could have had a penalty for the Cedric handball.
Well, yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. There was a lot of things about the penalty decisions in that game, and obviously you mentioned the one there where Cedric almost crawled along the floor and scooped it with his hand and seemed to be watching it. You had the whole dubious about their penalty being given against us, whether it was offside or whether it was a foul or not. And then you had the incident where what was the other incident? There was a third, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, there was when Alanga went in.
Yes.
In behind Tavares, nudges him a little bit.
Yeah, and then obviously we missed the penalty as well. So, do you think that potentially? I know we say how bad we are, but I actually didn't think we were that bad against Arsenal. We were just shocked. We were poor defensively, but in terms of our actual performance, we weren't that bad. We just got unlucky. Dalot hit the post and the bar. We had all those penalty incidents. We were the better team, but Arsenal just showed us, how clinical they can be and how clinical you need to be to win games in this league. Do you think that maybe went against us? Maybe some of them decisions.
Yeah, I think the penalty, was probably 60-40 in favour of it being a penalty. I think Tellez just gets in a bad position. Gets wrong side of him. Yeah, but I would also say you could argue that Tavares on Alanga wasn't too dissimilar in terms of amount of contact. So you could say I think the Cedric one was a penalty. I think that's the one that I'm most aggrieved by. I can live with the Alanga one not being given.
Because it looked like he was outside the box, didn't it? That Alanga one.
Yeah, and then the one they got, I can live with that being given because at first I thought, yeah, they'll probably give that. But yeah, I was amazed the Cedric one didn't get given. I also think, to be fair though, Bruno should have been sent off for that challenge. I thought that was a really naughty challenge late on.
Do you think?
Yeah, because I think
when you watch it in slow motion,
gone. Yeah, I think well gone. That I think he meant it. That's the thing because he can pull out. He can pull out for me. You don't need to make that challenge. It was stupid. I think he was lucky. But yeah, I think like you said, we had the chances. Dalot hits a bar, hits a post via a good save from Ramsdale, and we missed the penalty. But like you said, it's that clinical thing. They took their chances. We were too open though in midfield. We didn't press them we gave them too much comfort in possession in that first half, especially. So it was our mistakes. Again, there's too many mistakes. You can't make that mistakes like that and hope of getting anywhere near top four. Let's be honest, it's every other game that they're making basic errors. And that's not good enough. Not just in big games, but little games. So.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned there as well about top four, and Rangnick was asked in his post-match if that's now top four done, and he said, yeah. Which, I mean, it's quite refreshing to see United manager, just on a side note, to see what he's been saying in the press conferences. Quite refreshing. I quite like it. At least he's being honest, and he's almost calling out what needs to be changed at the club, that all the fans know it needs to be changed. So that's good on a side note. But yeah, top four is practically done now. And, against Liverpool, we saw glimmers of it when Hannibal came on and seemed to have a bit of fight. Going into this Chelsea game then, would you potentially play the youth? Because what frustrates me, and one of the things that I got really aggravated by it when I was after the Liverpool game, because he started with a midfield two of Pogba and Matic, both of which are not going to be here next year. Matic has already announced he's going. Pogba, we know he's not going to sign a new deal. And if it is, it's going to be for stupid money. And it's going to be for the money. And then Pogba went off conveniently injured after we went 1-0 down at the 8th minute. And he brought on Lingard, who is also not going to be here next year. I don't understand why. I mean, I'm a supporter of Rangnick in terms of what he does in the press conferences and how he speaks. But in terms of a managerial point of view, unless Lingard's going to be signed that new deal, why bring him on? He's not going to be there. So whether he wins, loses, or draws against Liverpool, it's not going to affect his season next year. It's just not. Whereas you bring on someone like Hannibal, who's maybe fighting for a place and thinking, well, there's a new manager coming in a few months. Head of
Africa, you cut off after Hannibal.
So what was I saying before it?
You was just on about like playing like sort of Lingard, Matic, Pogba all played when
So essentially I would say that why, if you're looking as a Man United player and you're not going to be there next year, it's not going to be affected. Your season next year is not going to be affected whether you win, lose, or draw a game against Liverpool. Whereas there's a player like Hannibal sat on that bench who's thinking, the new manager coming in a few months' time, and I want to get in ahead of any signings he might make, because we know that centre midfield is a position we need. Why not play him? Why bring Lingard on, who's not going to be there, regardless of his experience? We were going to lose that game regardless. I don't care. I don't care. Anyone United fan says we were saying before the game, how many are we going to lose by? We weren't going to say how many, we might scrape a win here, because we weren't. Why not play a player who is hungry, who could be fighting for a place next year and wants to impress a new manager? I don't get it. I don't understand it. I think next year, against Chelsea, I'll play the kids, because top four's done, nothing to play for. At least play the players who want to be there. And he sort of did that against Arsenal, to be fair. The only player who wasn't going to be there next year was going to be Matic. And for me, Matic is a professional. He's not going to drop his standards for the sake of sulking. I don't think he's like that. Whereas someone like Pogba might be. What would you potentially play the youth against Chelsea?
I'd certainly, at worst, have a few of them on the bench and give them good minutes. I'd like to see a couple of them possibly start. Like Hannibal, I think he's warranted a start with his 10-minute cameo. Just because, like you say, I think that central midfield area, there's places up for grabs. And like I touched on earlier, I think Erik would like to see the likes of Hannibal get some Premier League minutes under his belt. And I mean, I think, though, until it's mathematically done, realistically it's done, but it's not mathematically. Until that point, I think the hierarchy will be wanting him to put the first team out regardless. So whether Ralph goes, nah, sod it. Yeah, I want to put the kids out. I want to give them a go. but yeah, I would like to see a couple of fringe players, younger players, given a go, give them a chance. And the day, they can't do much worse than the ones we saw out against Liverpool. So, yeah, I think I would like to see that happen. Whether it'll come against Chelsea, maybe not. But I would say if we lose to Chelsea, and results go against us, then it'd be a minor miracle mathematically anyway. So, at that point, I definitely think he will. But I definitely think a couple on the bench, but yeah, no point bringing Lingard on. I'd rather see Hannibal come on. Or that Garnacho.
Yeah,
give him a go. Yeah, give him a go.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, we're looking at this Chelsea side. And actually, really, Chelsea are coming to this on not great form. They've just scraped a victory against West Ham today, which at time of recording is the Sunday. Yes, it's the Sunday. Well, I'm sorry, I'm absolutely lost track of days recently. But no, yeah, they scraped a victory against West Ham in the last 10 minutes, or literally the 90th minute, after a sending off in the 86th from West Ham, which probably didn't help. And then they got beat by Arsenal in midweek. So, you know, this Chelsea team aren't exactly the strongest we've seen them. Living in dreamland again here, Chris. If we turn over Chelsea and Arsenal and Spurs maybe drop points around us, is top four maybe back on?
Yeah, I think, like I said, mathematically, if results go a certain way, it is. But yeah, I mean, part of me's thinking I'd rather finish eighth.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you've seen in recent years, like obviously, you know, Leicester didn't have European football when they went and won it. Liverpool a couple of years ago when they finished second didn't have European football, so we're able to just throw all the eggs in that basket. Would it be the worst thing in the world? Because I mean, we don't get Champions League, Europa League. You could be like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because I don't actually think that's a bad competition anymore.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Conference League, we'd probably go into it as favourites and should win it.
Don't even mention that word.
But then again, it's quite embarrassing for Manchester United to be in that competition. Would you rather just not have them and finish eighth, which is a distinct possibility now? You know, Wolves are breathing. I mean, Wolves lost at Burnley, which has sort of helped us for that.
What happens now, Chris, because obviously City have won the League Cup and Liverpool or Chelsea will win the FA Cup. So does that mean that... Sorry, City didn't win the League Cup. Liverpool won the League Cup. Does that mean that a place moves down for the... Because we were on about this. Surely if City or Liverpool win the Champions League, does a fifth place come available for the Champions League and the Premier League? Or...
I don't think so anymore. I think it's...
No, because it would have happened this year, wouldn't it? If Chelsea... Because obviously Chelsea won the Champions League. So fifth would have got it last year. That didn't work, did it?
Yeah, I think it is... But it's basically worked out that it is how it should be, where it's 4, 5, 6, 7. But I mean, God knows, who knows? But yeah, I mean, that's the point. I think top 4 is still there. We won't deserve it if we do get it. But I would say defeat to Chelsea, and if results have gone the other way anyway, the gap will still technically be there to bridge, but I don't think it would be. I think another 3 points would do it. Another 3 points increase of it, I should say, would do it. Because I don't think we beat Chelsea. We might get a point, but I think it's a big ask. Still doable, but based on performances, I don't think we will.
No, I agree. Well, I'll ask you prediction then, Chris. What's your prediction for Chelsea?
I think a draw. I think 1-1.
Okay, interesting.
We'll take that.
I'm going to say, it's got to that time in the year now where United... Oh, well, not time of the year, really. Time of United where we're actually saying, 1-1 at home against Chelsea will be a decent result, which I'm probably going to go with. Getting beat 3-0. That's what I'm going to go with.
More positivity.
Honestly, I'm about thin. I'm running really thin. I think I've lagged out again, and I haven't. I'm back. I'm all right. But then we've obviously we might win some silverware in a few weeks. So we've got the Youth Cup final against Nottingham Forest. So you never know. You never know. But we'll wrap it up there.
We'll celebrate it like a title.
Well, knowing some fans, they probably bloody will as well. But we'll wrap it up there. We'll call it a day on another enthusiastic week of Manchester United football. Next week, watchers get smashed by Chelsea and preview the Brentford game. Of course, we probably will get smashed by. Although, to be fair, if you want to see some angry reactions, it's probably going to be a good thing to tune in and laugh at us. Really, you won't get any United fans tuning in. You might get some few Liverpool and City fans tuning in, which will be fantastic. Well, to be fair, they're probably above us now. It'll probably be more than Leeds fans will be bantering with next season. But anyway, on a more lighter note, make sure you check out all the other content that goes out on local TV. It's not just Manchester; it goes out on every other channel as well. You'll have a local TV channel for your area. There's Leeds, Bristol, Birmingham. There's loads. And it's not just football content either. We put out general content as well. So check that out on the Facebook page and the Twitter. Thank you, Chris, for joining me as per usual.
No props.
Absolute pleasure talking to you, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.